Hey, Chris Corey with Creative Habitats. This is the starting slide to take you on a tour of my ideas. So let's begin that journey. So, this is my vision for what we do with your backyard. What I've done is coming off of your steps, I've added in a larger entertainment space. I've tied this new larger entertainment space to your existing fire pit area. Let me show you some of the specifics of what I've done. Now, you've mentioned that you want to integrate gardening into your landscape. So one of the things I've done is essentially giving you a two for the price of one. One, I've made this a more comfortable space by having an overhead structure. It's really interesting. The first time I experienced an arbor with grapes, I was in Montgomery. It was a hot summer day, and this was in front of a house that was, much older than air conditioning. And it was so interesting going underneath that arbor and feeling how dramatically it dropped the temperature. So, not only do you get a very inexpensive form of shade over this area, but you also get a way of producing grapes. Moving on, I've tried to separate this back area. You mentioned you wanted chickens. So I've created a space for your chickens without them getting into the rest of your garden. And I'm going to give you more details on that later. And then after that, we've just created more green space for more gardening around this. So let's look at this more closely. Here's some examples of this arbor. There you go. What we could do would be build this over that area. Now, if you notice in my drawing in the center, it's open. The reason why is we don't want to start a fire. So those are examples. Isn't this beautiful? These are examples of ways that we can utilize a food producing vine as also something that's ornamental and shade producing. There you have it right there. Okay, the next section right here, we're going to highlight the fence. Now, if you notice that on this fence, I have done climbing roses. So not only can we create separation between where the chickens are and where your garden space is, but we can also do that with style by adding in the climbing roses on this. It can also be used for growing pole beans or whatever you so choose. But these are examples of what that can look like. Now, obviously, going through this, it's not big enough to keep chickens out. So that's why I say we add chicken wire in there to keep them out, like what you see in this split rail fence. Another example of the same thing. And this is an example of how you can put roses on that fence to add even more beauty to your backyard. All right, let's take a look at the patio space. Now, I know that you're not going to have money in your budget to cover this with flagstone, but I've done so many patios with crushed slate, and they do extremely well. Not only that, the crushed slate is a precursor for putting down a future flagstone patio if you want to do that. So by using that, you're not completely throwing away your money by putting something down that later you need to tear up. So this is an example of what crushed slate looks like. And yeah, although you're not doing conifers like this, you would be doing garden things that has similar beauty to it. Another great example of what the crushed slate looks like. And then on that, I don't particularly find this particular material attractive, but if we could add some edging in there, it will further define that area and make it even more outstanding. Let's take a look at this and this. So first thing I want to draw to your attention to are these large steppers. No, it's not. It's the elephant ears. So everyone thinks about elephant ears as ornamental, but by golly, they're also edible. This is an elephant ear farm. Colocasia, which is the fancy scientific name for this, is edible. So whether you eat it or not, you do have a really beautiful, bold scene in the back. The reason why I put this here is I recommend doing some sort of a rain garden where, since this has a lot of drainage going through it, we capture that water, create a totally different and distinct area for plants, and that not only by trapping water do we create a more distinctive area, but we also create a better habitat for the chickens, which will be scratching around in here for the chickens to find food, natural food to eat. Um, this is the job we did a couple years ago. We actually installed these Japanese maples, all the ferns we installed, all the steppers, and the flagstone steps. You don't have a need for these, but just showing you what kind of materials are available. This flagstone is beautiful, and it makes it for a very bold and distinct path that would be leading from your patio to your chicken area. On the rain guard end of it, this is an example of how we can create that rain garden. So even when it doesn't have water in it, it's still very, very beautiful. Another example here of a rain garden. I don't consider this to be outstanding looking, but it serves the purpose to say, gosh, when it rains, all we're doing is creating a little bit of a puddle. Not a big deal. So other thoughts on this. Now, I've created a space for your grill so that you don't have it either up on your porch or sticking out here. That's what this is. I would recommend taking out the cryptomeria and pittosporum and changing these out for blueberries. And then over here, I'm not sure what this is, but I would change this area out in here for more, like this is rosemary on the corner, and maybe do some other herbs and culinary type things in this location. The rest of this is all mulched through here. What we would do is we will till this up and have it ready for you to plant as a garden however you desire. You'll know more about that than we will. So what I recommend that we do when we get out there is we till these two spaces up, amend it with soil and organic matter, and have it so that is set up and ready for you to plant. Lastly, water features. You mentioned a water feature. We've done water features like this, and we've learned from water features like this. It is so much better to keep it simple than it is to make it complex. Because when you do this, if there's a leak over here, if a varmint decides to burrow in here and eat from the bottom, then you spend a lot of money trying to figure out how to fix this. So keep it simple. This does not have to be sticking so far out of the ground, but I do recommend, whether it be this larger, this is probably an 8-foot diameter, this is probably about a 3-foot diameter, but keep it simple on your water garden, and you'll enjoy your fish instead of labor at maintaining the pond that you created and spent money on. Thank you so much, Corey Creative Habitats. I am so excited about having the opportunity to work for you and create this. Obviously, if there's some changes you'd like to see, I'm happy to make those, but this is the idea that hit me the second I walked out of your property, and hopefully it meets every objective that you described to me. Thank you again, Creative Habitats Landscaping.